Hey y'all, welcome to Little Acre Homestead. My name is Rowan. Today we are packing our pantry with more pancake dry mix. Jars of dry mix are a great way to save time in the kitchen and do a little bit of meal prep ahead of time so you're only pulling ingredients out of the cupboard once. I love having these for things like cornbread, pancakes of course, lactation bars when I was making those every week. It helps you save time, and if you're a busy person like me, that's really necessary. So what we're gonna do is get our dry ingredients into these 4 jars here, and then at the end I'll show you how I label them and store them in our cupboard. Now, our recipe is pretty straightforward today. It's 2 cups of flour, 4 teaspoons of baking powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, and a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And then I like to add flax seed and hemp seed. Those are totally optional and you don't have to, but they give a really nutty flavor to the pancakes and I think they're really good. Optionally, you can also add sugar, but I'm gonna leave it out. So then all we need to do when we're ready to use these is dump out a jar into a large mixing bowl and add 1 3/4 cups of milk, 4 tablespoons of melted butter, and 1 large egg. And then you just stir it up and cook it like a normal pancake. By batching, getting all these ingredients ready, I'm saving myself time down the road because I don't have to get the ingredients out 4 separate times. And if I wasn't filming this, it would take about 10 minutes for me to get all of these ready. So this is about a month worth of pancakes for our family if we eat it once a week. Making these dry mixes is super easy and straightforward, and it's a really great way to save yourself time. So it's definitely something I recommend doing. I'm gonna get the ingredients going in these jars, and then I'll catch you back here shortly to show you how I label them and store them in our cupboard.
Well, voiceover Rowan checking in. Here are some pancake tips for when you make these. If your batter is too dry, add more milk. This recipe calls for 1 3/4 cup of milk, but sometimes you might need a little bit more. Or if your batter is too wet, just add more flour. Try making the batter the night before. It makes the flavor way better and it really brings out the nutty flavor of the flaxseed and the hemp hearts if you use those. Whenever I make this, I like to cook my pancakes in a cast iron skillet and I use lots and lots of butter. It's really delicious. When my grandma taught me how to make pancakes, she taught me that when the bubbles on the top of the pancake on the uncooked side are starting to pop, that means that the pancake is ready to flip over to cook the other side. I found that this is definitely true as long as you don't have your heat up too high. If it is too high, it's not gonna be ready to flip and then it's still gonna be raw in the middle. And my last tip is to try lots and lots of different kinds of toppings to make your breakfast really interesting. This works really well to get young kids to try eating new foods too. If they feel like they have control over how they're topping their food, they might be more interested in trying it. We don't always use syrup for our pancakes. Sometimes we'll use jam, and so far my favorite jam has been blueberry lemon. It is delicious. Okay, that's all the pancake tips that I have for you. Let's get back to the video.
Now I've got all of our ingredients measured out. So before I put the lids and the bands on, I'm gonna wipe these down to make sure there's no flour on the rims or anywhere that the band is going to be, just so it doesn't attract anything like bugs or anything gross like that.
If you have a vacuum sealer with a jar lid attachment, you could use that too.
These lids are used. I use them for dry storage after I use them for canning. They're all clean. I personally wouldn't reuse them for canning, but I'm not your mom. Do whatever you want. So I'm gonna clean up and then I'm gonna show you how I label these.
For my labels, I write down what the dry mix is and then all of the wet ingredients that I need to add to it. You can also include things like baking or cooking instructions.
So now we'll cut these down to size. And on the right side of the recipe, we left a little space. We're gonna put a hole punch through it. But first we're gonna make these labels reusable by covering them with packing tape. It's a little tough to see, but we've got some extra on the edges. We're gonna trim that off. So you leave a tiny little bit of tape just around the edges. That way water can't damage the labels and then you don't have to redo these every time you make dry mix. So we'll take our hole punch, pop a little hole in there. And then usually I use twine to tie these on, like kitchen twine, but I can't find it. So we're gonna use yarn. So take a length of yarn. I like to go at least 2.5 times around the jar. We might have a little extra, we'll see. So take your yarn or your twine, fold it in half, and then put it through the hole here. So then you've got your loop. Take the 2 strings on the back, push them through the loop on the front, pull through, and pull tight. So that tape also helps this be sturdy enough to tie on without, damaging the paper within. So now that we've got our label, we're gonna take our jar and we're gonna tie this on. I like to keep the pretty part of the jar in the front, and then it looks nice around the shelves. So then you tie it around this way. Like I said, 2.5 times is what I prefer for that original length. Then you're able to go around the jar twice and make a nice little bow in the back. All right, now we've got our pancake dry mix. We know what we need to do when we use it, and it looks super cute on the shelf. Let me do the others and I'll be right back. All right, y'all, I've got 3 more jars of pancake mix ready for the cupboard. You may notice I left this one out. It's because we're gonna have Brenner, so I'm not gonna make a label for this one. I'm just gonna use it right away. But these 3 are ready to go, and I'll reuse these labels the next time that I make more pancake mix. Let me know in the comments below what kind of dry mixes you like to make. I'm always looking for new things to add to my cabinet. Thanks so much for stopping by Little Acre Homestead and for subscribing, and I'll see you again very soon.